talked to a scout from another team about Mykel Wiliams because I wanted to get some perspective. Now, this scout works for a team that drafted ahead of the Niners and took a player that the Niners also liked. So I don't know if that means they necessarily think the same on Mykel, but I know they think the same on another guy. And this is what this scout told me. He said, quote, I really like Mykel. Big, strong, tough, balanced, still raw, good power player on the edge. Never going to be bendy, high side rusher, but will be disruptive. It's a good scouting report. And still raw goes with the age. And, we talked about the physical skill set is there. If Nick Bosa, you got to bet on Chris Kasarik and definitely this guy can learn something from Bosa. So then I asked him, okay, good scouting report, but what about how high he got drafted? Given that this guy's team was drafting in the top 10, they had to have a good sense for who was around them, who might try to trade up ahead of them. He didn't think the Niners tried to trade up ahead of them, but and he had to have a good feel. And so I asked, were you surprised that he went 11? And he said, no. I thought that's right around where he would go. I felt pretty good he'd go ahead of Walker. Interesting. So, as Jalen Walker was falling, I think a lot of people, myself included, were watching it going, oh, Walker. This guy's not surprised that it was Mykel Wiliams. Then I was like, the last time the Niners had their third shot, their pick of the third best defensive lineman in the draft is what I'm trying to say. They took Kinlaw. He was like, don't worry about that. This is a much cleaner prospect than Kinlaw was. So I think that's a really good scouting report. I like him. He's big, strong, tough, balanced. This aligns with what the Niners think about him, right? The toughness element. This guy also knew, like the Niners found out. I guess like a lot of people knew, it wasn't some secret that he was playing hurt a lot of the year. It's funny. We go straight to the stats. You saw Shanahan the other night, the scout. He doesn't say anything about the stats. He just tells you what he sees when he watches the guy on tape. I didn't know if it was odd or not, because here, one thing I was thinking about on Thursday night after the pick was, okay, if this could fail, why would it fail? Right? Like, beyond just the player doesn't develop, what could the Niners miss? They like him so much. They like his character. They like his football character. They like his talent. They like his toughness, which is football character, I guess. What could they miss? And the one thing that stood out to me is, like, let's say he doesn't develop, we'll go back to that press conference and go, maybe that's something that Kirby Smart might have told you. Or maybe that's something that you would have found out if you talked to the head coach. The Niners, Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch made the point to say, like, we didn't ask Kirby because we felt like we had all the information we needed. And, we didn't want to ask just to ask and maybe have it put out there. And so I bounced that off this scout, and he said it makes sense. You would probably play coy and talk some, but definitely cautious not to tip your hand, because Kirby would have no incentive to stay confidential. Then he says scouts and PI types do all the work. He's a high character kid, so they didn't need much extra. So I thought it was odd watching it after the fact, just thinking about that press conference. Like, I don't know, they didn't ask Kirby at all, but this guy didn't think it was odd. He thought it was perfectly explicable, which would be the opposite of inexplicable, explainable. So, the other thing I hit him with was like, hey, tell me if I'm crazy. I think Shador's a better quarterback than Dart, or will be. Like, I would rather have Shador than Dart. It's clear watching the Wednesday night and then obviously the Thursday and some of the Friday coverage already. Like, there's all the shock about Shador, and there's a whole element of just like the personality stuff. But as I was explaining to somebody earlier on Friday, who is more of an NFL person than a college person, just the prospect in terms of athleticism, arm strength, it's not first round, and that's okay. It doesn't mean he can't be good. Even if you take away all the other stuff, the questions, right? So I don't think it's that weird. I do think the Giants, I don't think they made a good draft pick with Jackson Dart, but I do think Dable's a good offensive coach. So maybe he's got a shot. But I didn't love it. Anyway, Scout said I didn't study him because he said I didn't study him, but I like Shador more than Dart based on what I've seen. So, the other thing to think about coming out of the draft, we talked about the Niners' schedule is Atlanta, and obviously the Niners play them, but Atlanta is relevant now because the Rams have their first round pick next year, and you gotta figure that's gonna be a pretty good pick. Like if you had to bet right now, let's somebody save this and pull it back next year. Where is Atlanta's pick next year for the Rams? I would say it's, I mean, 11. Like it's going to be a really good pick. So McVay, the thing where they ignore picks, like not this time, or they don't value picks, not this time. I really liked, and I was in the minority on Thursday night, the Travis Hunter pick. Now the trade value is really what people didn't like, not the pick. And then I saw the GM introduce Travis Hunter, and I still love the Travis Hunter pick, but people are split. It's getting some applause from some places, criticism from other places. I think mostly people are mocking, but I haven't been quote unquote online today. I'm in a hotel in Eugene, Oregon, so I'm not sure what the pop culture is saying here. I know the GM has taken some flack for other things that he said. I don't love DePaul. I am I'm a try to zig when everyone zags guy. I definitely don't want to be pylon guy. But then I watched it and I was like, oh.
Travis Hunter is a Jacksonville Jaguar, and really what comes to mind for me, right? Thinking about the sport of football and really the power of the game itself, right? Its capacity to ignite belief, right? Belief in ourselves, belief in others, right? Belief in achieving what many may deem impossible. Travis Hunter, he embodies belief, right? He's a rare person. He's a rare player, but he's also a reminder that the boundaries of the game of football were built to be challenged. And so the decision to select him was actually a statement for how we plan to move, who we are, and we want him to be nothing more than him. Because when he is, he elevates the space around him. From the football field to the city, to the game of football itself, Travis Hunter is who we've been hunting up. Couldn't be more jacked to be sitting right here beside him and introduce you all to the man of the hour.
Don't make statements with picks. Just pick a player that you like. That was like a movie monologue. I thought it was a red flag. I think it's a red flag. The fact that you want to pick a player to say something other than we just really believe in this player. I think it's odd. And additionally, even if you feel that way, I think to say it like that, the guy already has, now he can handle the pressure. I believe in Travis Hunter, but so much on him. Why do that other than to let everyone know you're calling your shot? Like to make it a little bit, not a little bit, a lot of bit about you. Like let it happen. Just let it happen. The first thing I thought of was Cisa Puente. Like, why didn't you just drop a Cisa Puente at the end? Like unifying a nation. That's the old Obama 09 slogan. 08, whatever year it was. Like what we're drafting, we're sitting at desks with remotes drafting football players here. And it's true. All the stuff he said about what football and sports can be, it's beautiful, it's true. But this is not the opening, like, is that the opening scene to the documentary? Just let the guy answer some questions. Why do we need a slogan and a t-shirt and a monologue? So I don't want to be flippant about it and dismissive. I'm not. But if we're being honest, that felt like a red flag to handle that pick that way. I've always thought if you're making picks for those reasons or hires for those reasons, if you're making a pick to sell tickets, if you're hiring a coach to sell tickets, congrats on selling tickets for 3 months, but then you have to actually go win games. And that is what sells tickets. Now, again, this guy I think is a really good player, but I just watched that. I go, oh, when it's all, he may have to overcome that organization, because I just think don't love that. I don't enjoy saying that I don't love that. Before I clicked it, I wanted to like it, and then because someone sent it to me, then I clicked it. I was like, Middlecoff sent it to me. I was like, oh, what? Here we go. And I just wanted to disagree. I wanted to be like, oh no, this is fun. This is great. And then I watched. I'm like, I don't love it. So anyway, hope you got some insight there from the anonymous scout around the NFL. Active, just to clarify, active scout, current, not former. Different text than the Middlecoff thread.